and so on. According to the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you get to pray Fajr in Mina, the Fajr of the morning of the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah. Then you pray Duha as well in Mina. Then you start moving towards Arafat. However, I would have to share with you some facts here. Due to the crowds and the rush, it's not expected that over 2 or 3 million pilgrims would move all at the same time and would get there at the same time. So that's why some groups would tend to leave earlier. It's okay. It's just not the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. If conditions which were much more convenient would say yes, try to stick to the traditions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and every footstep he took. But if they decide to leave early, or they reach Arafat later than everybody else, as long as it is within the prescribed time, it is okay. What is the prescribed time for Arafat on that day? It is from Az-Zawal, which is when the sun moves from its meridian, basically, which is noon or a little bit after noon, and until the Fajr of the next morning. This entire time is the time of standing at Arafat. If the pilgrim catches up during any time at the valley or the mountain of Arafat during this time, he or she have fulfilled the mandatory act of being at Arafah on the day of Arafah. But this is not what's best. What's best is to be there at Arafat from the time of after Duha, before noon, and until sunset. So actually the best time is from Dhuhr till sunset. When we get to Arafah, there is a sermon will be delivered by the Imam a little bit before Dhuhr time. Then whenever it is Dhuhr time, the Mu'adhin will call Adhan. Then there will be an Iqamah right away, because there will not be any Nawafil. And the Imam would lead the Salah, where the Imam would pray Dhuhr and Asr together at the time of Al-Dhuhr. Dhuhr will be offered 2 rak'ahs, shortened, and Asr will be offered 2 rak'ahs, shortened as well. Each prayer would have an independent Iqamah, but only one Adhan. Then you've got the most precious time in your life to gain forgiveness, to fulfill all your demands and answer all your dua from that time until sunset.
Sheikh, I want to give this issue all the attention it deserves, but we have to take a break now. So let's do that. When we come back, we'll talk more about Arafah. Please stay with us for that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Hajj Step by Step. We're talking about Yawmul Arafat. Before the break, you had mentioned that this is really perhaps the best time in our whole lives, this day of standing on Arafat. What are the best activities with which we can occupy ourselves on this day?
Well, the Prophet ﷺ said in the sound hadith, خَيْرُ الدُّعَاءِ دُعَاءُ يَوْمِ عَرَفَةِ. The best supplication ever is the one which is made during the day of Arafah. وَخَيْرُ مَا قُلْتُ أَنَا وَالنَّبِيُّونَ مِنْ قَبْلِ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ لَهُ الْمُلْكُ وَلَهُ الْحَمْدُ يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And he's also guiding us to the best statement that he himself uttered, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or any of the prophets before him, which is the word, the phrase of the oneness of Allah. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. There is no partner to him. له الملك وله الحمد. To him belong the praise and the dominion. يحيي ويميت. He gives life and He gives death. وهو على كل شيء قدير. And He's indeed able to do all things. So increase making this dua and supplication during the day of Arafah. Waste no time. There is no time to talk about anything else but dhikr, istighfar and supplication.
Sheikh, what about the talbiyah? We haven't mentioned that in a while. Should we still be mentioning the talbiyah on Hajj at this stage? This
is actually one of the best times to increase making talbiyah. If you remember, we said in the past, once you assume the intention of ihram, for men particularly, they should speak out loud, raise their voice with the talbiyah while they are getting on the bus, getting off the bus, going uphill, going downhill to a valley, traveling, going up in the elevator, down. Make talbiyah whenever you remember, and remind everybody around you to make at-talbiyah. Is such a great blessing to make at-talbiyah, especially during this sacred time.
Sheikh, we talked before about each pillar of Hajj and the conditions that establish its validity. What are the conditions for Arafah?
Well, for Arafah, like any other pillar of Hajj, that the pilgrim has to do it by himself. You cannot send somebody on your behalf. You have to be there. You have to stand, sit, or lie. You have to be there at the valley of Arafah, and it's got to be on the 9th day of Arafah. That reminds me with a joke, as I was once giving a lecture, I said that this is a day where the valley of Arafah will be very, very occupied, because it's only one day. Afterward, it becomes empty. So one of those who are attending said, so why don't we go on the next day instead of the 9th? So it's one of the conditions of the validity of standing at Arafah. It's got to be on the 9th day, and before the Fajr of the 10th day.
Sheikh, when we talk about standing at Arafah, now a lot of us have trouble even standing for a few minutes in prayer, and then we try really hard in Ramadan to stand for an hour or two at night. So the thought of standing for the whole afternoon can seem a little daunting. Is it actually required to stand the whole time at Arafah?
No, not at all. A person may sit, may lie down, may sit in a car. The main thing, do not waste this time by making any other activities other than a dhikr wal ibadah, seeking forgiveness and making supplications. I would like to seize this opportunity, and I would like to warn many brothers who came all the way to perform this lifetime journey, and they do not really appreciate that gift which is in their hands. So you find some people smoking on the day of Arafah. It's like, they're begging Allah for forgiveness, and they're saying, here I'm challenging you. Smoking is haram. You're asking Allah to forgive you, and you're challenging Him with the sin. This is a day of purity. Once sun sets, once this day is over, you will be just 1 hour old. You will be as the same day you were born, sinless. So, do not ruin this day by any sin. Make it a turning point in your life instead.
What about the images we often see of people competing to climb the actual mount of Arafah? Is that necessary, or is this something that distracts from the real purpose?
This is one of the misconceptions which this show is all about explaining them, trying to remove and eliminate them from the mind of the pilgrims and those who are planning to go for Hajj in the future, inshallah. The Prophet ﷺ stood close to the mountain of Arafah on the stones and rocks there, and said, وَقَفْتُ هُنَا, I stood here, وَعَرَفَةُ كُلُّهَا مَوْقِفٌ. The whole valley of Arafah is a valid place for standing at, except Wadi Urana, except a place which is nearby, a valley nearby Arafah, which is known as Urana. A part of that occupies the front yard of Masjidu Namira, which you see in the videos normally during the khutbah of Arafah. You see the front part of the masjid, no pilgrims, no people are wearing the ihram sitting there. Why? Because this area is not a part of Arafah. Otherwise, being in your tent, being in your car, being at the mountain, you don't have to make a special effort to get there, hurt yourself. Some people fall. Some people waste this time by taking pictures, taking shots for memories. If you would like to have the best memory, shed tears right there. Cry, beg Allah for mercy. Remember all your loved ones in your prayer. This is the best thing that you can do to benefit yourself and others on the day. Not the pictures, not wasting your time and chit-chatting with others, getting to know them,